Enjoy a seat at the table and good company, where great conversations and meaningful discussions happen.
Welcome to And Good Company. I'm Sarah Fiedelholtz. We all know a great dinner party isn't really about the food. It's about the people seated around the table engaging in lively discussion. And Good Company gives you a seat at the table to enjoy smart and interesting conversations as they happen. I am very pleased to be in the company of Norm Compton, who is the manager and Mr. Do-It-All at Access Fort Wayne, the very station that And Good Company appears on. And I have been working with Norm for the past year and a half on the development and evolution of And Good Company.
Yes.
And we've gotten the chance to bring you out from behind the camera to in front of the camera.
Thank you very much for this invitation.
And so it's a very exciting time right now for Access Community, television.
Access Fort Wayne.
Access Fort Wayne. So tell me a little bit about why is this such an exciting time?
Well, really as far as, because we're celebrating our 40th anniversary. This is something we're doing all year long. Our official start date is like January 7th, okay, as far as that's our anniversary date. And it started back in 1981. But of course, January 7th is hard to celebrate because it's like we're still over the holidays and it's like, wait a minute, you know? So we decided really as far as just make the whole year our anniversary aspect of things, and we're doing things throughout the year. Recently, we presented at the annual Cable Fund Advisory Board meeting. It's a public hearing, and so our annual report this year was 40 things you need to know about Access Fort Wayne.
And we're going to get to those 40 things. It's also the 5th anniversary of the
WELT.
local of WELT, the Community Access Radio. But before we really dive into Access and how it works, I'm interested in finding out about your background and how you actually landed here running Access.
Follow your dreams. Really, as far as I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I'm a Michigander. Got the map right here. As far as after high school, I went in the Air Force for 4 years. So School of Hard Knocks, or turning wrenches, basically. As far as I was an aircraft mechanic. A couple of years in England as part of stationed over there north of Oxford.
And what were you doing in England?
Turning wrenches, as far as, I said, as far as working on aircraft.
Okay.
And then after that, as far as was stationed out in Lubbock, Texas. So I, 18 months in Texas. As far as I guess I've a bit of a Texan in me, and a lot to travel. And then as far as after that, I used the GI Bill to go to school. I went to Eastern Michigan University, and that's where I got my bachelor's degree as far as in telecommunications and film. And really as far as from that, I started an internship at a local cable company, got my foot in the door, became a part-time production assistant, worked a lot of weekends and odd hours as far as that aspect of things.
Right, you paid your dues.
Well, I was actually finishing off with school and worked on to there, and got my first full-time job with them. I was covering all the local sports, so a lot of high school sports, some intramural stuff as far as, and really just all kinds of different things. It was a great experience to, like I said, as far as from a sports aspect.
Right.
Growing up in Ann Arbor, I'm a huge college football fan, okay? As far as you can guess which team.
Right, we won't, right? We may not want to say that on air. We have a little sensitivity there.
But college sports, as far as my high school was right across from Michigan Stadium.
Got it.
And, so like I said, lots of great experiences with that growing up. So like I said, got into the cable business around the Detroit area. And matter of fact, as far as we go downtown to Cobo Hall, every Monday and record the Economic Club of Detroit. And that really was some high level as far as former presidents, secretaries of state, and things like that.
Well, that was probably in the heyday of the automotive industry in Detroit. So,
yes,
yeah. It was a very big power
That
center.
was in the 80s.
So that was Lee Iacocca.
Yes, yeah. And several other names as far as that were past century. You would recognize them, okay, as far as, but anyways, as far as, so that really as far as got me going full time. And then I saw a position that was listed as far as to manage a facility in Defiance, Ohio. And I thought, ooh, management, that looks good on a resume. So I successfully applied for that. And I moved my family down to Defiance, Ohio in '87 and managed that facility there. We were Defiance Community Television, DCTV. And it was pretty much a startup as far as there was one person before me that really had kind of like, laid the foundation for stuff. But I was able to come in as far as, and within 2 months of my starting there, like $75,000 worth of TV technology arrived that had been ordered before I arrived. So it's like, yeah, okay, we can make this. And Defiance is a small town, obviously, as far as halfway between here and Toledo. And back then, as far as the 80s and 90s, as far as that was, we were a local television station. Most of the people had cable TV, and like I said, being on Channel 5, very, very easy to find. And we just, like I said, had a lot of fun with it. Like I said, did high school sports, city council meetings.
So you really focused on local.
Absolutely, yeah. So then, actually, as far as Access Fort Wayne was kind of a mentor to Defiance as far as we at the time, as far as getting things started. We looked to Fort Wayne and Access Fort Wayne here, the staff here. They came over on occasion as far as and did training workshops or helped as far as just ask questions as far as like, hey, how do you guys handle this?
Right.
So like I said, as far as when the position came open here in the late 90s, I talked with the staff. It's like, what's going on over there? How come you haven't, you got great talent here.
Right.
How come you haven't filled the position?
Right.
And Eric Molberg, a former staff member, asked me, it's like, you're interested? Apply, go for it.
So how many years have you been here?
22.
So really almost half the life of the...
Yes, yeah.
So what is it about, video or television, the medium itself, that you like, and what role do you think it plays in the overall media landscape?
The creativity and helping people tell their stories. I mean, I like to help people. Okay, that's my nature and the way I was growing up. So, like I said, as far as working here, it's not the pressure of broadcast. Okay, you don't have those deadlines. Well, you have deadlines, but okay, as far as it's not the
day-to-day grind of
high
having
stress
and getting it on the air. I mean, it's not live and all of those things. But what is it that you feel that you can get from video and the visual medium that you
It's the most powerful way to tell your story. That really, as far as, I mean, audio is still the king, okay? As far as the sound is much more important. Once again, as far as if the thing's messed up and suddenly,
right,
it wouldn't take long before somebody would start reaching for the remote control.
Right.
Okay? So the sound is more important than the picture. I dressed up as far as to look good today.
Right,
okay?
Right. That's important.
But you're much better looking than I am.
Thank you.
But really, as far as, like I said, to be able to tell your story, be able to, and that's really what, storytelling is what it's all about.
Right, regardless of the medium, because
Exactly.
even with WELT, I did do a program with John O'Rourke, who's the station manager, and we talked about how radio is still the most immediate medium.
John is a great guy.
Fabulous.
One of the best hires I've ever been able to do.
And he's not, he didn't pay you to say that. And that the audio, the resurgence with podcasts and things.
Yeah.
And video, absolutely, I think also is so important now, especially with internet and live streaming, and also in the past year with everybody with Zoom, we've all seen, everybody's getting those lights to make themselves look better. But
I have one in my office, yes.
Okay, good. So in terms of, let's now look at the role and purpose of Access Fort Wayne and other community access channels and radio stations. What is the overall mission and goal, and why were they started? Why was it started 40 years ago?
Certainly. Once again, this goes back to the history of cable TV. And when cable was first coming out, as far as that, the cable companies were talking to the local municipalities and saying, hey, we'd love to come in and run cable up and down your alleys and streets to get everybody tuned in here.
And that was in the early 70s because
70s and 80s,
right,
yeah.
because HBO, really the first one that really started it was started in 1972.
Yes.
So it was really then that they were starting to lay the cables into the homes, right?
So at that time, as an enticement to allow the cable company to run these wires through the right-of-ways.
So to tear up the streets and create the traffic havoc.
Yes. They said, well, look, we'll give you some channels, okay? So each community set it up in their own way. Here in Fort Wayne, like I said, as far as we started off as Channel 10. There's quite a bit of history as far as cable here in the Fort Wayne area, as far as there was citizen cable inside the main part of the community, and Comcast actually had kind of a donut around the outside. Eventually, as far as the two Citizen sold out to Comcast, and so they unified the whole thing, and that really, as far as that buying up and unifying, continues
That
today.
continues because there's and then so our main are Comcast and Frontier, correct?
Right. Well, actually, Frontier they came in 2007. Verizon was actually the came in and again built over the top of what Comcast had. New technology as far as we're bringing fiber into it.
Right. Now they're laying. I just saw through Promenade Park. They're actually getting the first place that we're getting 5G. The network is downtown because I was watching them lay all the. Because they have this fascinating machine, but
we've been watching the towers go up.
Yeah.
As far as they're pretty easy to find. As far as there's one over here by the Grand Wayne.
Right, and there's one by Promenade Park now, and so the idea then, okay, so at the beginning they said, oh, we'll give you a couple channels, right?
Right.
So everybody's like, great, but then they realize, well, what do we do with these channels? How do we make it because it costs money to create programming, even if it's
So
it's
typically
free.
it's evolved as far as in three different avenues, as far as the public and education and the government.
Okay.
Okay. And it's called PEG by official terms in a sense, as far as so Access Fort Wayne here we do public as far as Access 1 and Access 2 are public channels, and we also run the government channel for the city of Fort Wayne.
Right, and that's the city channel.
City TV.
And then you started that, but you really just started that like in the early 2000s, right?
Actually, as far as it was the original cable franchise, the agreement with the city, typically was 15 years.
Okay.
And so in mid-90s, as far as they were renegotiating that franchise renewal. And so that's, once again, as far as let's get down to the bargaining table here and go back and forth as far as Comcast wanted to rebuild their system and up their capacity, and the city wanted this and we wanted that.
Right.
So we were very fortunate as far as, when I say we, the library
Okay. So let's
was able to get a chance to be at that table to negotiate that.
So let's just take a beat a second, because Access Fort Wayne is housed and located and supported by the Allen County Public Library System.
Correct.
And that is unique to Access channels, correct?
It's fairly unique. There are a few other places. Bloomington, Indiana, once again, as far as BCAT is the system down there, and that is also a part of the library. Over in Michigan City, there was a facility there as far as that was once again out of the library.
Right.
So, but yeah, it is fairly unique.
And it makes sense in some ways if you really think about the purpose of a public library and the purpose of a public community access channel and network is, the public library believes that information and knowledge should be free and accessible to everyone. And Access believes that, giving everybody, it protects the First Amendment and gives everyone a forum to create programming or be involved in the community, but also serves what I feel is a very critical role, which is what you really do for the city and the county, which is covering all of the city boards, commissions, the council meetings.
That really has become apparent here this past year with the pandemic, as far as that television and obviously the outcrop of that, as far as whether it's Zoom, YouTube,
Facebook Live,
or Facebook Live, as far as has been able to be the transparency that government once again wants to be able to show this is what we're doing, this is our business.
Right.
And once again, as far as so yeah, we've been in the driving force behind that. I've got great people that are over at Citizen Square on a daily basis as far as helping put government
Right.
on the media.
And what we really see is why that's so important is because in some ways what I like about video in a sense when you're doing either live to tape, which is like what we do, or live to when it's live or
yeah.
live streaming, is that people can see it as it happens, and therefore when you do as a reporter, and let's say you're at a city council meeting and you're going to say that they said this or this, and then they could say, well, that they took that out of context or whatever.
Right.
So this is a way that the community can watch it from beginning to end, and then there's no taking it out of context. There's no seeing that any agenda from any local media outlet to present it in one way or the other.
The
And
video on demand has also helped that a lot.
right,
as
because
far as,
people
you
can
know,
watch it whenever they want.
Yeah.
But it also allows for this whole idea of facts and people creating their own facts and fake news, and so this is a way that circumvents that because it really does show the council meeting as it happened, and
Yes.
so I think that that's become even
Yes.
more important.
As I scream to my TV on occasion, as far as, we've got you on tape, come on, you know?
Right, exactly. So it's become, I think, in some ways, even more important that to have access from that standpoint of the working with city government. And in some ways, you're like it's like, the New York Times is the paper of record. So you're sort of like the community record because you are, in some cases, you may be the only media entity at a board meeting or a school, board meeting or something like that. And so that's really important.
It is, as far as, thank you. Yes, we are the unofficial recorders.
Right.
Like I said, as far as the city council coverage that we have on here, obviously is widely seen, and it is seen outside of Allen County.
Right.
On occasion, as far as we know that the city council is talking about a tax issue that is going to affect the state.
Right.
And suddenly we see that there's a whole lot of people that are tuning in as far as electronically, as far as through the internet, watching the live streams, as far as out of Indianapolis.
Right. And so even though we're sitting like in a very traditional television studio with very traditional, exactly what people would think, the type of cameras, but you also have continually kept to make sure that you're able to distribute the content in the most effective or technologically advanced ways. So even like during COVID, also having
Sure.
to do live streaming on Facebook or presenting, and there was even a recent city meeting where something wasn't working, and then they just came in and immediately put it on Facebook Live or something.
Oh, I wish it was that
Oh,
easy. No,
okay.
there are no magic wands, okay? But yeah, over the years, as far as we've seen this evolve, as far as, a couple years ago, it was like, well, if it's not on YouTube, as far as it's not legit, okay?
Okay.
as
Where
far
people
as-
used to say if it wasn't, on CBS, NBC, or ABC,
Right,
or
you know,
PBS, it wasn't
You know,
legit.
I got to be on YouTube. I got to be on YouTube. And once again, as far as we have a maker lab here, as far as our part of our department, and that's a wonderful asset as far as that adds to our capacity to help our producers do that, as far as get things on YouTube, because that's not something. I mean, Access Fort Wayne has a YouTube channel, okay, but it's not, your program doesn't go on there, okay?
No, we don't go on. We have our own.
You have your
Right,
own.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So now, as far as it's Facebook Live, okay?
Right.
As far as obviously, how do we look on Facebook Live?
Well, and you also said you have to think about how do you look on someone's phone because
of course, that's the majority of people are watching on their phone.
right.
Just a couple of weeks ago, I was covering the Library Board of Trustees meeting, and after the meeting, one of the people that was helping me put the show together, it's like, yeah, Norm, well, your graphics were a little bit mushy. I'm on my phone.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh my God. And this past Tuesday, I was watching Fort Wayne City Council meeting on Facebook Live on my phone. Okay, just to say, as far as, okay, yep, because we had a problem with that a week ago.
Right.
Our plan B was that we actually put one of the administrators of the city Facebook page put a message up as far as there's a problem with Facebook. Go here, as far as here's the link to the live
Right.
stream that we do out of the
out
library
of city
here.
TV, right? And so, I mean, clearly, although a lot of people may think that the Board of Trustees meeting for the library is not important, if you really think about it, in a lot of ways it is, because of the fact that there's tax dollars involved,
Yes.
but also that because the libraries are so critical, which we've also seen during COVID, to be a place of engagement and dissemination of information and even,
Sure, center of the community.
right. So I think that even though people might think, well, who really cares about it, but it gives you that opportunity to care and to be informed. So there's no doubt that access is important.
Really, as far as yes, one of the board members really credited Access Fort Wayne's coverage of the county, okay, and said, look, you guys do a great job for the county. We want you to do the same thing for us. And that's how we started doing
And that was in early 2000s, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And even with like the library, what's really important now is because the library has a new executive director. So here is an opportunity to see how she works, or what sort of what she's putting forth as where she wants to go, or her strategic direction. So there's a lot that nuances that you can get.
Absolutely.
But I think that so there's no doubt, the two of us sitting at this table and to the people that we disseminate to, that the access network and radio, it plays an important role. And there is, and maybe it's underappreciated or under-recognized by the community, but hopefully through channels and programs like this that we're elevating that. But I don't think that people really understand how it's funded and what has happened to that funding. So it started with the cable companies like, okay, we want to rip up your streets and we're going to lay these cables, so we'll give you a couple channels, okay?
Right.
And then obviously there were lots of changes with the cable, and so then, but how then did it progress and evolve into the fees and getting a budget for that?
So I mentioned as far as the franchise, okay? And part of that is that the cable companies come back and they pay a small portion as franchise fees back to this government entity.
To the city.
Yes, okay?
So when they want, so like Comcast wants to come into Fort Wayne, so do they have to get approval from the city to be, like, get that contract, or?
Old school,
Okay.
okay? This is back in the 90s as far
Right.
as, yes, there was a local franchise with Comcast and the city of Fort Wayne. And of that, as far as 5% of the cable bill came back to the city of Fort Wayne as franchise fees.
And that's the cable bill that we pay, right?
Yes.
That's all those things underneath when it tells me that it's $20 a month, and then I've got all these different taxes and everything.
Your cable bill's $20 a month.
No,
Boy,
I don't.
you-
Well, I hate to tell you, even though because you get funded by cable, but I don't have cable.
I can tell you what my cable bill is.
Okay, yes, okay,
all right,
yeah.
because I'm a Comcast subscriber.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so break it down.
So I roughly, as far as my cable bill is about $120 a month.
Okay.
Okay, that's for internet and cable TV, and the franchise fees are less than $3. I think it's $2.79.
Okay.
Okay. There's another fee on there for broadcast TV. Broadcast TV.
That's for
is,
what?
Yes, $17 and change each month of my cable bill is going back to broadcast TV.
But is there, because we have cable, don't we no longer have traditional broadcast TV?
We do.
We do?
If you have an antenna, you can get channel 15 and
Oh,
21
okay.
and 33 and
Okay.
39, 55, all the rest of those things. But once again, as far as, I don't know if you watch, for example, channel 15, on occasion you'll see on Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune a little crawl across the bottom of the screen as far as, that you need to contact your cable
Well, that was with
company.
Wayne TV. Wayne had a big issue with CBS, right?
That is what we call a retransmission consent agreement.
Okay.
Okay, it's a contract that is negotiated on a regular basis, okay, to say as far as like, we're CBS, okay, I'm Channel 15, the local CBS affiliate here.
And you're not owned
Okay.
by the network.
And we want to be on Channel 2, on your cable company, on your, so that's where it started, like I
Right.
said, as far as, and it has evolved since then.
Okay.
So, all right, not only do we want to be on Channel 2, okay, but here we want to be able to play some of our commercials, okay, on ESPN or CNN in the commercial insertion aspect of things.
Okay.
Okay, and then as far as the next step after that is, well, you need some help as far as getting the Olympics on our channels, okay? As far as, that's a big ticket item,
Right.
okay? Wouldn't it be great as far as if we can get some money out of the cable company? So right now, like I said, my cable bill, as far as I
Right.
was looking at it just this morning, okay, $17 and change.
But what is that? Yeah, so what
is
is
coming out of my cable bill
to go to whom?
back to the local broadcasters.
So that goes back to, so does that go back to like,
That's a revenue stream.
so that goes back to WPTA, Wayne?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
because-
my understanding.
So, and is that because is it also sort of because in order to be also on the cable, I mean, you could get it with if you had traditional rabbit ears.
Yes.
But in order for they have to pay to be on Comcast or Frontier through the cable, right?
No.
So why do we pay this $17 back to them? And that's in addition to the franchise fee, right?
Yes.
And that's so why do we pay this $17 broadcast fee?
Because that's the way the business has evolved.
Oh. Okay.
And legislation has not stepped in. So in the 90s, like I said, we had local franchising. In 2006, there was a state move as far as to do away with local franchises. Here's the story. As far as AT&T came into town, they wanted to deal with things like the phone company.
Right.
They've been dealing it on a state level as far as with the Public Utility Commission.
Right.
Okay. So let's make a state franchise, and that was passed here in Indiana. The party, because AT&T attacked in a sense state by state, they passed it here in 2006. They went up the road to Michigan. They passed the state franchise in Michigan in 2007. Went to Ohio after that in 2008. And once again, in each of these states, as far as they kind of tighten the screws, it's like, hey, we were successful with this element here. Let's see if we can get away with a little bit more.
Okay.
So now, as far as the state franchise,
Okay.
Once again, as far as there's no more control locally, as far as franchise fees. It's handled through the state level, through the Public Utility Commission.
Okay. So then, and Access gets funding, right?
Yes.
From the franchise fee or the broadcast fee.
From the franchise fees.
Okay, so that's out of this $3, right?
Yes.
Okay, and out of that $3, how much it's really the city, right, that gets it and then they allocate it? Okay.
Yes. So going back to that original franchise that was negotiated in the mid-90s, okay, that got things set up to very similar to what they are right now. The city gets 5%.
Okay.
60% of that goes right into the general fund.
Okay, that's so they can use that for whatever they want.
Parks, whatever, okay? 40% of that is set aside, and there is legislation done on city council as far as to set this all up, and this is part of that cable fund advisory board.
Okay.
Okay, the legislation is set up. So a percentage of that, I believe it's 8%, comes back to support access, public access.
Right.
Another portion of it comes back to support government access. And we also have 2 educational access channels.
Right.
With the Fort Wayne Community Schools.
And Purdue.
And Purdue
Okay.
Fort Wayne.
And so then, and out of, on a given year, how much out of that would access Fort Wayne? Well, you also get it for the city's portion too, right?
Right, yeah. So,
Okay,
we get 2 slices of the pie.
So out of how big was that slices of the pie, let's say, in the early 2000s? And there's a reason why I'm going back.
Sure. Obviously, it kept growing. As far as
Right.
we hit our peak, I believe in 2015.
Okay.
Okay. And
how much of your total budget comes from that?
a lot.
Okay.
Really, as far as that is the majority of our operating budget.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you get some from, you can also from donors, and then you get some from
Sure.
the library, and also from the city
From the county.
itself, right? And the county.
Actually, as far as that we have like I said, we run city TV for the city of Fort Wayne.
Right.
Okay. Back in 2002, the county wanted to once again their media coverage, once against transparency. Okay. So we started doing that as a service
Right.
contract.
And then, so they paid for that.
And once
Okay.
again, so the county pays into our operating budget as well.
Okay, so then what happened is in 2015, which is a lot of people like me, I don't have cable.
Right.
I just have my little
People started cutting the
Amazon
cable.
Prime thingy, and
Yeah.
you put it in the HDMI, and then I can pick, and then I subscribe to whatever channels that I want. And then that money, you don't get any of that
Not at
because
all.
that's not considered broadcast or over the right, because that's being live streamed through my internet, basically.
We have hooked our technology to Roku,
Right.
Apple TV. So once again, as far as if you've got those two devices, a Roku or Apple TV, you can actually see our live stream, okay, and get into our video on demand through those devices, okay.
But you don't benefit for what I paid or my monthly subscription to Netflix.
We get viewers.
You get right, but you don't get. So what's happened though is that has significantly cut your budget.
Yes, it has.
Which means that you don't have as many people. You can't necessarily keep as updated with the technology, right?
That's where being under the library umbrella has really been beneficial to us. As far as that, and the good years, as far as the money that we had left over from our annual budget, as far as the library has banked for us, okay? We're living on that right now.
Right, because you have to, because how big is that? How big is it? And I think that it's not even...
Access Fort Wayne is about a $500,000 operation.
Okay, but how much would you say has been the drop-off from people who are breaking away from that $120?
We see an average of about 8% drop
every
per year. Yeah,
okay.
So from 2015 to 2021,
okay,
that 8% starts to add up.
And then basically because of also with COVID and everything, and people's taxes and everything has gone down. People aren't spending money, so local tax, everything. So even the library's budget going forward is probably going to be cut. So how do you look at that, and what does that mean for the important role that Access plays in the community?
Like I said, as far as part of my celebration of the 40 years of Access Fort Wayne is to make sure that we're around for the next 40 years. Okay, so and funding is a large portion of that. I've been communicating back and forth with the library, obviously, as far as my people upstairs, literally.
Right, because we're right, exactly.
As far as, once again, looking at our franchise fees and the finances of Access Fort Wayne, and trying to generate ideas as far as how we can get some other funding. Nationwide, as far as people that run access facilities across the nation, are also looking at that as far as, is this something we can, an internet tax, okay? And really as far as with this, obviously, broadcast TV fee, well, maybe we need to put up a tower and make Access Fort Wayne a real broadcast. We are a broadcaster from WELT's perspective, okay? It's a low-power radio station.
Right, and I know that John is working to change there's so much about, partly what I wanted to show also in this conversation is there's so much beyond just creating the program, the content of all of these things, like where the transmitters are and what you need, and if it's a broadcaster and how your reach is, and because like you can't get on access, like I don't have cable.
Yes.
So I can't get, well now you just told me I got to go look at my Roku because I didn't know I could get it on my Roku. But if you don't have cable, it's difficult to get. I can do it through the video on demand and stuff. But there's so many things, like, because I know John is trying to get the transmitter moved for the radio station so it could have a bigger reach.
Exactly.
So sort of like, yeah, so is that a possibility that like, because I know like a news channel that was starting here, but they're a low power channel, WLMO, which is channel 2. But then there's all these crazy like 2.1 and 2.4s and...
The digital broadcast, yes.
Okay, so how is that all... I mean, so you're thinking that possibly you could become a broadcaster,
part of it is technology,
right?
Okay. Part of it, I have to put on an engineer hat as far as and what's going on with the broadcast field and digital channels. And part of it, as far as I'm a humanitarian. As far as I want to be able to tell your story, I want to help you communicate, and facilitate that aspect of things. So yeah, all kinds of things.
And so there's the benefit. Then you could become a broadcaster, or then you could have. So then would that mean also that then you would get that? Would you be able to then broadcast other stations as well? Like if somebody wanted to create a station, or?
Well, then part of that is actually as far as having a tower.
Okay.
Because you're familiar with real estate.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, as far as owning land.
Right.
Okay. Think of it horizontally or vertically. Excuse me. Vertical tower. Okay. Okay. That's real estate as well.
Right, and also there's the whole thing with the airspace, with cellular towers, and so buildings. Yeah, there's so much money there and
engineering
nuances. Yeah.
Yes, and so that's really as far as, like I said, if and that's a big if, okay, as far as if the library were to put up a tower, okay, then
And it would be
obviously,
good because this is only a 2-story building. They've got some good airspace. I don't think they've sold their airspace rights. We don't know, but yeah.
yeah, I'm not a lawyer.
Right, right,
I haven't
right. Yeah.
really
That's above our pay grades
done
here.
the
Yeah,
research.
yeah. Yeah.
I bet I can get a librarian to do the research on
I'm
that.
sure. Yes, yes.
But anyways, as far as, like I said, yeah, you get your own tower, then you've got your vertical real estate. And yes, okay, as far as cell phone companies, as far as they want to get their antennas on there, other radio stations, other TV stations, you know, it becomes real quick as far as a moneymaker.
Right. So that could be a way that something that you're looking at.
Yeah.
And but in terms of also, you know, a lot of times the perception of access and community, because what's really important is anyone can do a program. I
Yes.
mean, there's obviously, because of the First Amendment rights, everybody has the right to do it. You don't edit the content,
No.
except for certain things that have to do with FCC regulations.
No.
No. Oh, well, you have to look at it in case there's something.
No.
Well, what if somebody wanted to do something like that was hateful or?
When our producers turn in a program,
Mm-hmm.
okay, they sign a playback contract.
Okay.
Okay, and by signing that contract, they're saying they are responsible for the content of that show.
Okay.
Okay, so that's my paper shield to hold up to anybody
Wow.
that comes at my door
Right.
as far as to say I don't like that show.
And that's why a lot of what Access is perceived as there's a lot of religious oriented programming, because they can do that under the First Amendment, right?
Well, you know, religious programming, you always got content. Okay.
Right, that's true.
And an audience that just kind of can worship you a little bit.
Right. That's
Okay.
probably good, right? Yeah, okay. But the idea that, so you don't even edit or review the channel. So
No.
sometimes, I mean, you know, there's
Have-
different people
have-
with different experience levels and different, so, you know,
We
sometimes.
teach.
Right.
We teach so many people as far as we have workshops here.
Right.
We want, you know, literally as far as anybody that lives in Allen County can come in here and use our facilities, okay? We limit it to Allen County because obviously we're part of the Allen County Public Library.
Right.
Okay? But if they're an organization as far as and serve Fort Wayne, great. You know, come on in and help with us. Obviously, we have these great facilities here, studios. We have cameras available for checkout. You know, really as far as we're here to help people produce their programs, help them tell their stories.
Right.
We're here to facilitate that. Now, whether we're doing that for the mayor or city council or the county commissioners or for Sarah,
Right.
You know, as far as we love to do that, and that's really, like I said, working with people. That's where we
Right.
really
And
enjoy
you did,
ourselves.
so in 2020, you produced 1,594 TV shows, and you had 618 hours, which we are part of for 2020,
Yeah.
new shows. And
Yes.
that was on Channel 1. And then you had 1,151 hours of new shows on Channel 2. And so, and you serve also a public service, because you had 7,000 public service ad announcements, and then you also do announcements for hundreds for the community calendar
Exactly.
listings.
Yes.
So, and then you also trained 54 new individuals even during the COVID period.
People like yourself.
Right,
It's
me.
like, hey,
Yep.
I got an idea for a TV
Yep.
show, and you know, we're here in the library, the main floor of the main
Right.
library, right downtown.
Right.
So, like I said, as far as the people have got, and the easiest way to get a hold of us is pick up the phone and dial.
Right, and there's no fee to do the show. I mean, it's just your time and effort and learning and building your own. And the
So
other
you've
thing,
been producing a program. How long does it take you to produce an episode of
from
In Good
start
Company?
from start to finish.
Yes.
Probably with all the research, probably the equivalent of at least I would say 3 full days of work over the time period.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
From planning it and contacting the guests and getting them to agree and then doing the
So
research.
24 hours of work.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say that you're being very efficient.
Yeah, well, I try to be, but yeah. But I mean, it is, and that's the one thing that people have to realize.
That
but
is.
when I wanted to do this, obviously, I did it as part of what I called my Plan B Plus personal passion project, and I didn't have the funds to have to get a studio and rent the cameras and everything, and so. What Access gives you is that you have all of that, and I
Yes.
don't have to. I just have to be a member of the library to come in and then to learn and for you to help me and to record it. And,
Absolutely.
You know, and so people don't know that. And we were talking about that you actually were just working on a new program with the children.
Department of Children's Services.
Okay, so talk about how that happened, because I think this is really important for nonprofits to understand that anybody, any entity.
Yeah.
Now, a business could, but they can't. There's certain things you can't do, like you can't sell and promote that kind of thing. But
Exactly.
But let's look at what the benefit that Access serves and could serve to our nonprofit community.
Yeah, we're happy to work with all kinds of nonprofits.
So tell me what you did with the the Children and Family Services.
So the Department of Children's Services, we worked with them as far as we're still finishing up our third piece with them. But we came in and they wanted to thank all the foster parents. So we helped them create a video as far as about 2 minutes long. Once again, thanking all the foster parents, and that's gone statewide.
Right, and also the issue, anything, as long as it runs on Access, the producer owns that content.
Yes.
So like we air it on Access, but we also have a YouTube channel, and then we also give it to the guests so they can send it out. And so the same with the nonprofits. So you do this for them, it airs on Access, but they also can put it on their social media, their website.
We'll go to great lengths to get programs to play on the channel.
Right.
You know, like we have 3 cable TV channels. They're hungry monsters.
Right.
They constantly want.
And they're 24/7, right?
Absolutely, yes. Now, and we repeat programs, okay, as far as, so that Access 1, what plays at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, will play again at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right, like we repeat.
And 9 o'clock the next day.
But there's no longer at 1:30 in the morning when remember when they used to play the national anthem and then show the American flag, and then it would be like that snow static and all of them were off the air. It's no longer true anymore. Yeah.
You're showing your age.
I know.
Yes, I remember that as well.
So you're doing this
24/7.
project. So you did this thank you video.
Yeah, and then we also had some people here in the studio as far as we did a panel discussion where they were talking about the importance of getting the biological parents involved in the foster parent relationship as far as so that they could hopefully turn these kids back around and get them back reunited with their biological parents.
And also just our incredible need for foster parents.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, obviously as far as that's what we want to get out of it is help promote foster parenting and the good works that the Department of Children's Services
And so when you were telling me about this, and you said that you do all this for free, I said, well, why don't other nonprofits come to you and help do
we
programming?
We work with all kinds of people. As far as part of my annual report, as far as we had a page of just the people we partner with. As far as the Downtown Improvement District, we've done videos for them. The Work One, as far as we've been able to.
That's the workforce development.
Workforce development, as far as we've been able to work with them. Actually, through another department here at the library. They've been working with the business and technology as far as how to write a resume, how to build a cover letter sort of thing. And those are actually Zoom programs. While they recorded them, we turned them around and turned them into a TV program, and now they're on the channel.
And so that also allows people to disseminate information, especially in the last year.
Sure.
Via at home, so they could get all this when people couldn't travel and do things, and so it's really people.
Yeah, back when I started, it used to be it's like, okay, we got the show covered as far as we did our edits, we turned it into play, and we're done. Okay, we move on.
Right.
These days, as far as like, okay, great, it's playing on the channel. As far as now, we got to get it up on YouTube. As far as it's been submitted here. As far as is it posted here on this Facebook page? Or there's so much more.
Right.
And then also the side of it is the metadata, describing it. As far as,
That's very important for Google searches and
keyword search. Yes, indeed.
Yes. Yeah. And so and then over your 20 years of the 40 years, what has surprised you the most about the work and the community involvement and engagement with
surprises? This is the public library. We get surprises here on a regular basis.
Right.
Really as far as what I've learned to appreciate is the people. People like yourself, like all the other people that we come through here as far as that is the tapestry. I often say as far as, look, our cast of characters is wide and deep.
As colorful as the community.
Absolutely.
And
I love it all.
Right, and it's true also with WELT. I mean, part of the problem is that although you do well with programming that, like when And Good Company airs, because we do it every week, and and then you have some that may be a one-off program. So there is sometimes you can turn it on, you don't know what you're gonna get, but at the same time, you do try to create a schedule, and so there is a lot of diversity to it. And
we've been working with the League of Women Voters. Okay, once again, you're talking about nonprofits.
Right.
Okay, right now, as far as the redistricting is a big hot topic.
Yeah.
Okay, League of Women Voters has got some great information. And just this week, as far as I submitted a 10-minute video turned into to play on the channels. They've got a DVD of it. They're also using it as far as for presentations, as far as whether they're talking to groups or
Right.
whatever sort of thing. So once again, as far as that's a short little piece, that's needed for maybe the next 10 months.
Right.
Okay. But yeah, it's a great thing. And really, as far as they're the ones that came to me and said, look, we've got this PowerPoint, we've got the presentation down. Could we record this so that will save us as far as a little bit of the legwork as far as we can bring it
And
out
make
here.
it more of a story and more video.
Once again, reach a larger audience.
And how do you sort of, a lot of people dismiss access channels because of the range of content and because you have a range of programming, and because producers, you don't have to have journalism or television experience
no.
or radio experience
We
to
teach.
do this.
We teach.
You teach, right. So how do you sort of begin to get people to sort of look at it as like a smorgasbord or an opportunity to engage in different ways to get more support?
One of our secret weapons is that we work with the Animal Care and Control and the SPCA, okay? So the animals available for adoption. And we put those up on our community calendars. And that has a huge impact as far as making those animals adoptable.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, I saw this.
Right. People
But
want to
also
see
as
it,
far as-
right, exactly.
But people flipping through channels.
Right.
Okay, as far as they come across, oh, look at that puppy,
So
isn't
you're
that
telling
so
me
cute?
that maybe we need to bring some puppies, and so I could bring my dog. He could be a
that goes under the eye candy.
Right. No, well,
aspect
they
of
always say puppies and babies, but
exactly.
how do you sort of, when people say to you, well, it's not professionally done, or it may not have, it has really good, you do also record in for the highest quality production.
We were talking earlier today as far as that playing it on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the videos on Facebook, how many of those are professionally done?
Right, exactly.
Okay, everybody's got a phone that shoots video. Okay, and we can see how it can change a nation.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely,
Obviously,
we saw it.
We're
Right.
coming up to the anniversary of George Floyd.
Right.
And obviously, the video that was shot for that murder has changed the nation.
Absolutely.
That's the impact, and that wasn't professional.
Right, and that's also the idea of these whole community journalists and
Sure.
getting out in the community and giving them a place to sort of
We're working with a
report.
local group that's trying to get started right now. And one of the things that they were talking about, I sat in on one of the early meetings about that, and they were trying to figure out as far as what angle or what topic they want to really look at as far as and
Is that for the Solution Journalism Network?
is.
Yeah, so
It
that
is.
it's where a lot of the local media are
I
coming
knew
together.
you'd know about that.
Yeah, it's a program that's sponsored and it's getting money from the Knight Foundation, and
Right.
it's to bring all different medias in a community together.
So the meeting I was in on is they were talking as far as should we talk about policing or should we talk about housing?
Right.
And I said housing by far has many more angles, many more things, and a much larger impact.
Right.
And so I'm really happy to see that
Right.
that they're pursuing that.
Right. The challenge will be to get all of them to play in the same sandbox, which is, but that's also what I think is so important, and why I am such a big advocate and proponent of both the library and access both the television and the radio, is because you can have that kernel of an idea,
Yeah.
and there's an opportunity. So when people say like, oh, they can't be heard, or they don't know where to go, or they have this idea, there are people to help you, and to, if you put in the time and do the work,
Right.
there are professionals. I think you said that collectively, your team of staff
Over
paid,
200 years of
right,
experience.
of staff paid people. Now you do also have an extensive group of volunteers.
Yes.
And like we have one who's very dedicated to our audio, because audio is very important, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
So so you also have people that want to give back and be engaged in this, but there
We also have student interns.
That's right. Yes.
As far as we have interns in here, once again, as far as, and those are we're planting seeds as far as the next generation of TV.
Right.
Or multimedia, really.
Right. And I think also you serve a role that the community can understand how things are covered and how news gathering happens, and so that you can sort of show where, or to circumvent the issues around fake news, or people are making things up, and that this didn't really happen. And so I think that's such an also important role.
That's media literacy, really, as far as how consuming the video aspect of things.
And how to evaluate where you're getting your information and sources from. And
Exactly.
So, yeah. And so looking at the next 40 years, or even, okay, I'll give you a little, just the next 5 years, what are some of the things that you hope that you'll be able to do or want to do with both WELT and Access Fort Wayne Television?
Keep on going, obviously, as far as continue with what we're doing, keeping up with the technology, as far as both in the production side of it as well as the playback side of it. That obviously we're Facebook Live, we're on YouTube, as far as, but whatever.
Video on demand, and now
whatever the
even,
next
you're even
thing
on streaming services.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I like the idea of getting the tower. I think that we should go for that, because then we could really, you could create channels,
Yes.
And then, because there's not, I feel, and partly why I did this in the first place was because I just feel, as a journalist, there's not enough of this kind of local, in-depth conversation and analysis, and giving people an opportunity to get to know their community. And that's really what the social solution journalism project is about, and other initiatives like that.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about being a company, is that you take the time to get the whole story out.
Right, and that's what's really important. And I'm one of the biggest fans of you and your team.
Thank
because you're number 62, so you're the 62nd conversation that I've had at this table, and nobody to date has said no to me in the community, and that's a testament to what we produce in the team. Have you
been recognized at the grocery store yet?
No, I have not.
Right, that's the next test.
But that might be because I don't go to the grocery store. But so at the end of each And Good Company show, as you know, because most of the time you're in the director's booth, I ask guests the same 12 questions that French novelist Marcel Proust popularized from a Victorian parlor game. So these questions I'm actually going to ask you because you have listened week after week to my original 12. I'm actually asking you the second 12. Are you going to change it up on me? Just in case, because one of the things I pride myself with the program is that I don't
keep it fresh.
I don't give people the questions, and I don't tell them what we're going to talk about before. So I didn't want, just because you've heard them week after week, so I figured I should keep with my mission of not making this just very on the cuff.
Bring it, Sarah.
Okay. What is your perfect idea of happiness?
I love to be on the beach.
And your boat, right?
Yeah.
What is your greatest fear?
Pass.
You can't pass. Nobody passes.
Greatest fear, death.
Okay. What is the trait you most deplore in yourself?
Kindness.
Okay. In yourself, you
deplore?
Deplore in yourself. I don't think it's kindness.
No. Closed-minded.
Okay. Which living person do you most admire?
My mom.
What is your greatest extravagance?
Food.
What is your current state of mind?
Positive.
On what occasion do you lie?
Diplomatically.
Which words or phrases do you most overuse? Okay. What talent would you most like to have?
I'd like to be a pilot.
What is your most treasured possession?
Family.
What do you most value in your friends?
Honesty.
What is your greatest regret?
I mentioned I was in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a time where I could have re-upped and stayed in and done a little bit more.
And maybe become a pilot?
Yeah.
If you were to die and come back as a person or a thing, what would it be?
A turtle.
Why?
I love turtles.
Okay. Okay.
Simple life. Come on. You know, you're like living in an RV.
Right. Exactly. You got everything with you. So, Well, I hope that we will continue to bring guests and people who are doing interesting things in our community
Thank
and also
you.
with Access. And I can't thank you all enough because without Access,
And let me turn right back around as far as, the people you bring into our studios, that helps us immensely. So thank you, Sarah. We really appreciate what you do.
well, thank you very much. And you can learn more about And Good Company and see all the other great conversations we have had at andgoodcompany.info. And we look forward to next week when you can again enjoy a seat at the table for great conversation and good company.